Good afternoon. I'm King County Executive Dow Constantine. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. In my State of the County address last month, I called for a 100-day intensive effort against gun violence, directing King County's new Regional Office of Gun Violence Prevention to coordinate this work in collaboration with the City of Seattle and local community leaders and national experts. So today we are launching those 100 days of action against gun violence because gun violence is a public health crisis that demands urgent action. As you all know, last month, 3 high school students in King County were shot and killed in a single week. Each of those deaths is a horrific, unthinkable tragedy on the heels of so many tragedies of gun violence. Gun violence is now the leading cause of death for children and teens in the United States. But the weight of this crisis is not carried equally. It's disproportionately impacting those who are most marginalized in our community. We are compelled to take collective and aggressive action building on local and national solutions. The mayor and I, Councilmember Zahalai and others, just this afternoon had another conversation about how we can combine our work, our efforts, our resources to take on this shared challenge. To face this emergency, King County is investing an additional $1.6 million over these 100 days, and that includes $1 million to expand community-led violence intervention programs and $250,000 to support victims and families impacted by gun violence through the Harborview Medical Center hospital-based intervention program. All of that is in addition to the gun violence prevention efforts that King County has already undertaken. This additional funding is short-term, and the effort is a short-term collaborative initiative, but it's going to focus us and intensify our efforts, and it is our intention that it will galvanize us toward long-term change. I want to particularly thank the City of Seattle for the excellent work that they have done and are doing, and for Mayor Harrell's initiatives that you will hear about in a moment. And I want to thank the community organizations that are joining us here today because this is very much an all-hands effort. I now turn it over to Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell.
Thank you, Executive Constantine. I want to get a few thank yous out the way first because I can't thank them enough before I get into some substantive comments. I want to thank King County Executive Dow Constantine for a outstanding meeting that he and Councilmember Zermai Galahay, I'm going to get one of these. I practiced it 4 times. Written City Council President Ed Prince convened a meeting of elected leaders, mayors and council members throughout the county to show vulnerability in trying to solve this crisis, to be able to have an open dialogue about what can we do to save lives. I want to thank Deputy Mayor Washington of my team, Eleuthera Elish, the Director of Regional Office of Gun Violence Prevention, Dominic Davis, who is here, CEO of Community Passageways, Chantel Patou, Executive Director of Urban Family, Ryan Dish Guzman, Chief of Staff for the Alliance for Gun Responsibility. All of these players are part of this ecosystem with a sense of urgency and purpose to make sure we are saving lives. And so the leadership, the 100 days of action under the executive's leadership gives us the impetus and the momentum to really work and coordinate these efforts regionally, and we are in as a city. That is why I'm excited to be here. I shared a statistic earlier today when I said that 19% of 10th graders reported feeling unsafe because of gun violence. Half of the 8th graders, 50% of 8th graders, and 71% of 12th graders reported feelings of anxiety because of gun violence. 30%, a third of the 12th graders feel depressed as a result of insecurity and lack of safety. How do you learn in an environment like that? You can't. And so when we look at not only the abundance of guns on the street and the violence that occurs, we look at the trauma after the fact as well. Our executive order, I'll present next week in our supplemental budget, $10 million proposed to the Seattle City Council, a lot of which, $2.4 million of which is allocated for telehealth therapy services, $2 million for violence prevention and intervention interruption services, and the balance will be likely to sort of double down on some of those efforts, but I must make it clear that many of these solutions will come from the community. So yesterday, and I want to thank everyone's participation, we have to listen to the community. The community is capable of phenomenal work when you listen. So we will let the community continue to lead us through this. We're looking at expanding current safe passage initiatives, providing immediate wraparound services for young people at high risk of being impacted by gun violence. That becomes critical because every time there's a shooter, what we're asking is, who had the touch points in this person's life? I got to reemphasize that. Where was this person? Where were the triggers? Where were the signs that this person is losing their way to pull that trigger? How did this person get access to a gun? So in our regional approach and our policy approach, and Councilmember Zahilai,
there you go. Second time's the charm.
Okay, made it really, really clear that a lot of the Alliance for Gun Responsibility, they did some phenomenal legislative work. They got a lot of wins in Olympia. And when we look at institutional issues and policy issues and federal and state laws that we're trying to improve, I think you made the point, but what can we do today? And that's why the executive's 100 days of action becomes so critical, converting what can we do today to save a life. This should be one of the most unifying elements in our region. We all want to feel safe and we want people around us to be safe. So I close by saying to the violence interrupters, to the trauma treaters, if you will, to the people who are leading with empathy and love, you are some of our best investments. And quite candidly, I know you are putting yourself in harm's way in doing this work. There's a new mentality out there that wasn't the way when I grew up. He's almost as old as me, but I'm a little older than him. There's a new mentality out there that they just can't shove each other and say who won the fight the next day. They're killing each other. So these 100 days of action, coupled with our executive order, and coupled with the leadership around the county, from the mayors and the council members, we're saying King County council members, city council members around the region, we are all in and trying to protect our community, and you, our violence interrupters, are part of it, and we're going to continue to these investments, in fact, double down on what we're trying to do. So thank you very much. And next, I'm just going to say Councilmember Gurmai. So I got your first name down. Councilmember Gurmai.
Thank you so much, Mayor. You flipped the first letter of both my first name and last name at the beginning, so I could call you Mayor Hoos Barrel. You like that? Thank you so much, Mayor Harrell. Thank you so much, Executive Constantine. I'm Gurmai Zahilai, King County Council Member, and I'm here to be a voice for my community. I represent the Central District, South Seattle, and Skyway, and those communities are really hurting. They're really hurting. A 10-year-old in Skyway, sleeping in her apartment, Creston Point, shot and killed. A student at Garfield, shot and killed. A young man, 14 years old, riding his scooter through Rainier Vista, shot and killed. This is a crisis. This is horrifying. And the broader trends show us that this is a growing problem. More children and teenagers were killed by firearm violence halfway through this year than all of 2023 combined. The full year. And we already know how bad 2023 was. And so I am glad to see action being taken this summer. Thank you, Executive Mayor Harrell, sorry. Mayor Harrell, for your executive order supporting children and youth. Thank you, Executive Constantine, for 100 days of action. The King County Council is supportive. In support of your 100 days of action, today I introduced through the Budget and Fiscal Management Committee an extra $1 million toward developing this effort, a 5-part plan to make sure that we have a comprehensive approach to addressing and preventing gun violence in our community, to strengthen our relationships and our systems across levels of government, to create a database of resources for victims and surviving families, to create targeted intervention strategies to make sure that the people who are most at risk for shooting or being shot have a tailored response to them to divert them from that path, and to make sure that we create a sustainable funding source for this work. We know gun violence prevention should be the top priority for any level of government, and we want to make sure that our funding streams represent that level of priority. And so I am excited and I am proud to support Executive Constantine's 100 Days of Action effort. Let's meet this moment and let's make sure that we keep all of our communities safe. And finally, I just want to thank all of the people here who put their bodies on the line every day to make sure that our communities are safe. The first responders, the violence interrupters, urban family, community passageways, all of our Office of Gun Violence Prevention. Thank you all so much for the work that you do.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of the people who are keeping our community safe, I want to introduce the director of our Regional Office of Gun Violence Prevention, Luther O'Leish.
Thank you, Councilmember Zahalai, and want to echo and copy, if I can, Mayor Bruce Harrell in expressing my gratitude to the King County Executive for his leadership, 100 Days of Action and beyond. I want to thank you, Mayor Bruce Harrell, and to your whole team for being our colleagues and partners in peace in this effort to address gun violence collectively, and Councilmember Zahalai, and to your team for your leadership in addressing gun violence and working collectively across King County to help us get this right. I want to also thank the local brilliance and echo again the gratitude that's been expressed to Urban Family, to Paul and Chantel for your long-standing leadership in this work, and to Dom Davis and Community Passageways, and to the team of violence interrupters that are here. Please know our hearts and muscle is with you and behind you, and we're grateful for what you do every single day to curb and address gun violence. These 100 Days of Action also, we need to also thank all of you that are listening and reading the stories that will hopefully be told from this room today. We all have a role to play in addressing gun violence. Gun violence is a public health crisis. It is named in June 25th by the Surgeon General of the United States as a public health crisis, and that is a rare and reserved action that really galvanizes and asks us to look at something that we all have a responsibility in doing together. We are modeling the work of our 100 Days of Action off successes that have happened in other cities like Baltimore, like Boston, like Philadelphia, and learning from their efforts to move in short and nimble bursts to strengthen the energy and will to get everybody working together. And this is only a short-term action that will lead to longer-term and sustained actions that will be a culmination of the brilliance that you learn about from the work that's happening from the elected leaders and the policy agendas that they will set forth, and from the frontline workers who are doing this work and most informed, along with the hospital-based interventionist, who are most informed about what community needs for us to be able to address gun violence collectively. So we commit our office, Regional Office of Gun Violence Prevention, is affiliated with national offices around the country and with the White House's new Office of Gun Violence Prevention, and we are all working together. So we commit to bringing resources back from everything that we learn and to learning from you and alongside of you and with you, and being vulnerable and humble and making sure that we are all committed to doing this together. We firmly, firmly commit and believe that together we will and can curb gun violence. And now it is my great honor to bring forward Chantel Patu, Executive Director of Urban Family.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Chantel Patu. I'm the Executive Director of Urban Family, and I'm so both excited and worried for our children. I'm excited for 100 Days of Action, 100 Days of Peace, the work that we will be doing, but this is really happening to our children. This is happening in our communities, and we have to work together. It's both One Seattle and Together We End Gun Violence, and it's about unity. It's about all of us, our council members, our mayor, but our community coming together, realizing that we have to do something. All of us, not just a few of us. So those of you that are watching, those of you that are listening, it's time. It's time for you to stop watching. I don't know how many of you saw the traffic jam for peace, but we slowed traffic down to get your attention. And this is what we're doing. We're trying to get your attention. So know that it takes all of us, and I'm asking for all of you to contribute, all of you to put forth your effort, and let's stand up and end gun violence for our kids. Thank you.
That's all right, Chantel, I got you. It also is now my great pleasure to bring forth Dominique Davis, Executive Founder, CEO of community passageways.
First of all, I want to thank the exec's office and the exec's office and the mayor's office and Gramai and council members, not just in the city and the county, but around the region, period. Mayors and council members need to be ready to make some investments into this movement. This 100 Days of Peace is sitting in the center of the community. This 100 Days of Peace is just the first 100 days for us to collaborate and pull the puzzle together of how we're going to address gun violence in our community. Gun violence has spilled over from not being in marginalized and underserved and under-resourced communities no more. It's spilled over into other communities now. We're all feeling the brunt at this point. So this 100 Days of Peace in collaboration with government entities is going to be something that we're going to build off of to make it a 200 days. And a 300 days, and a 400 days. This has to continue. We already know that every summer what's going to happen. We know it already, right? Now we're putting ourselves in a position to be proactive and preventive and not just reactive. And this is what I'm excited about. I'm excited about the fact we're going to be able to save our babies. These are all of our children. And if we start looking at this like these kids are all of our children, and we come together as a village and unite as a village and work together like we're doing up here, standing up here representing government entities, representing community, and pull together and lock arms and say, we're not standing for this no more. Let's find out where these guns are coming from. How are these guns pouring into our community? Let's find out how our kids are getting access to these guns, and let's put a stop to it, right? And at the same time, let's get these kids and families opportunities to have some success and some hope in their lives, right? We have to deal with the deep-rooted issues. We can't just talk about gun violence without talking about poverty, or miseducation, uneducation, right? Being unrepresented in employment, being unrepresented in housing, being unrepresented in the healthcare industry. All these things go hand in hand. So as government steps up to the plate and community steps up to the plate and we unite together to start making some answers and putting answers on the table, we're also going to address all the deep-rooted issues at the same time. So I appreciate everybody coming together, but this is only the first step for a long journey. Thank you.
And finally, we're really grateful to hear from the Alliance for Gun Responsibility, and joining us now is Ryan Dish Guzman.
Thank you, Eleuthera. At the Alliance for Gun Responsibility, we pride ourselves in making sure that our elected officials, those in power, are listening to our community leaders, those like Dom and Chantel who are doing the really hard work. They are the subject matter experts, and we need to listen to them, and we need to form policy that gives them more power in our communities to do this really important work. I'm really excited about how this 100 Days of Action is combining that work. That is a dream, and we're excited about that. And it's about time that policy meets the moment. Like Dom just said, this is a predictable crisis that we know is happening in our communities, that we care about. It's not only a public health issue, it's a public safety issue. The number one issue in Washington's communities. We need to act like it. We need to stop predicting the same cycle over and over again, and we need to have collective action and collective policy. And as a community in this region, we are going to take that policy to the state government, and we're going to enact it, and we're going to lead. That's what this says, and it starts today. Thank you.
So I think we're going to wrap. I am gratified that so many have joined together in common cause here for the sake of our kids and our communities. Luther will be able to share with you afterward information about some of the other cities and regions that have had success with this kind of short-term focused effort, but none of them have eliminated gun violence. They saw what they interpreted as positive results. They saw what they interpreted as a reduction in the number of gun violence incidents. But this is going to be a very long-term challenge for our community and for our country. And there's no better day to start than today. So thank you all for being here.